Welcome. Welcome to the pre-launch party for a very highly anticipated book. And welcome to our 30-minute live stream today to celebrate the upcoming release of A Hard Work or Success, the School of Hard Knocks Authentic Business Handbook for Success. Now, that's the long title, but we're going to get deeply into it because the book is similar to Chicken Soup for the Soul type of a book. It's built for entrepreneurs and for businesses. And the book hits hard and shows the deepest levels of entrepreneurial life, both the highs and the lows. It's really truthful. It's really authentic, and you're going to love it. For the next 30 minutes, though, we're going to spend time with 4 out of the 22 authors and entrepreneurs who help write the book, edit the book, bring all the collaboration together. Hello, my name is Rich Bontrager, The Trigger. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon's mini book launch, the pre-book launch for this amazing book that's coming up. And we're going to have a mega global book launch party Tuesday, October the 15th. And all 22 of those authors will be featured on that live stream event starting at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have more on that in just a few minutes. Feel free to ask questions throughout the chat as we go live here tonight with our guests. But first, let me start introducing these guests one by one. And I get the honor of introducing Dan Goodwin, first of all. Dan helps people change their reality. He's a strategic business consultant, advisor, and he hails from Kansas here in the United States. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Rich. Good to be here. Excited for the crew. I mean, we're here after many, many months, and I'm excited for everyone to get to read the book.
Well, so from Kansas, we go to the big state of Texas. Sandra Dee Robinson, charisma coach. She's guiding entrepreneurs to be uber confident and persuasive on screen, stage, sales conversations, or on leading a team. She comes from the big state of Texas. Here is Sandra Dee Robinson.
Hey, yay, we've nearly made it.
The finish line is getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And now, because this is a global book launch, Ciara Heneghan is with us this afternoon. Story weaver, founder, and editor of All In magazine. She's an author, she's a poet, and she hails from, not Texas, from Ireland. And let's go see if she can say it for me. Come on, say Ireland.
Good old country of Ireland.
It's like candy.
So cool.
Finally, Lee Tunney-Ware with us. He's an international high-performance personal development and business coach. He also comes from Ireland. And by the way, he started this whole thing. So here is Lee Tunney-Ware. Lee, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Rich. Good to be here. And it's like Sandra Dee said, we're almost there.
We are almost there. A couple more weeks, and we will have the mega global book launch party. Now, we got a lot to get through in 30 minutes, so I'm just going to dive right in here a little bit. And Lee, you're going to go first because you are the guy that started all this. You run a mastermind group. The original book challenge came out of this, and you put it out there to write a book in 30 days. Can you explain what you were thinking in doing that?
Oh, that was on Ciara's and that was Ciara and Sandra. Yeah.
We had a lot more than 30 days.
So where did this idea to do a collaborative book with all of your mastermind people?
Well, we run or have a community called ECI, and in that we have multiple different entrepreneurs in multiple different countries. I think about 26 different countries, and what I wanted was a project that would, because we're a community, but we network and support each other. I wanted a project that would bring everybody together where they could see each other and get below the surface conversations so they could really start to pull together, as some might say, a team, because entrepreneurs are normally polarized and isolated and in their own mind and normally against the world. So we put the project together. I imagined it would be a lot easier and it would be a lot quicker. Yeah. So, but I realized that entrepreneurs, very hard to keep them on rails, Rich, when you give them a brief and say, this is what we're doing. So, but we're there, and we've all learned a lot from it. And it's been a brilliant journey, very stressful sometimes, but that's where it started from, was more of a collaborative opportunity. At the same time, for the outside world, how could you serve the larger international entrepreneur community? So it had to be very real, very authentic, very genuine, very sincere, integral, not marketing spill. It's nothing like what you
Oh, we just lost a little bit. We'll come back to Lee in a little bit. That's why he's in Ireland. International connections are always fun. Sandra, you're up next here. And let me ask you, what does it feel to be a part of a collaborative book? To work with other people doing their own stuff while you're doing your stuff?
Yeah, this has been a very different experience. So I haven't really said this, but I've been in 2 other collaborative books. 3 technically, but 2 of them that were written like this with other authors. Everybody wrote their own thing, and then it went into one book. Never have I had the experience that I had with this, where I actually supported and felt supported by the other authors. That was very unique and very different. It's very indicative actually of the community that Lee builds around him. So it just took many steps in some ways deeper, because the stories that we are encouraged to tell in this book are not, oh, here's a struggle that I had with my business one day and here's how I got through it. It was more our life experiences, like the really crappy days, or the things that made us who we are, that enable us to do what we do. And so some of those things were hard for people to go through. And so we really did support each other emotionally and strategically. And I have never worked on a book with that kind of camaraderie before.
We're going to get more into that, I'm sure, especially on the mega book launch night. Dan, let me ask you this one. What was your process of coming in all this? Did you get to pick your own topic? And if so, did you just do it in your own silo and then blend it in with the big book? How did that really work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rich. So, yeah, I would love to share that. My first draft was absolutely 100%. I was so excited when Ciara told me that, and I would be lying if I told you that. So it was about 3 drafts before I was gently nudged back into the lane with the nail-studded baseball bat. And then I was able to actually, deliver, because it was a struggle. And as Lee said, to get 20 plus entrepreneurs together, it's like the old adage of herding cats. So that's kind of where we were. And all of us cats thought we were cool. All of us cats thought we already had the answers, because we have been paving our own path for so long. And the collaboration part, there wasn't really that we all have to talk about X, whatever X would have been. It was share your journey. So the stories that I shared in the book, very few people know about that, and there's a good reason for that. But as I reflected, I knew that was where the framework of my life actually started. That's when it started, and it was way back in junior high.
Wow, we get to read about Dan Goodwin, junior high, when we get into this book. Okay,
Yes,
that's going to make people buy the book right there, Dan. You just teed it up really big time.
Thank you.
So, Ciara, you are the editor. You are a writer. You work with books all the time and with authors. But what was it like for this particular group? Because you're part of the mastermind, so you already know these people. But now you have to take their separate works and make it a collective book. What was that process really like?
Well, I'd just like to say that my Irish encouragement is actually wonderful, and they're all painting me in a very bad light altogether. There was no baseball bats used in the making of this book. There could have been, but there weren't. It was really cool. It was a really interesting project to be involved in, because of the fact that it was real, it was raw, it was genuine. So many book collaborations stay on the surface. They're maybe I'm going to offend people when I say this, but they're the kind of books where people are just writing a book to write a book. And I couldn't for the life of me get behind something like that. And Lee isn't like that anyway. There's nothing he's ever going to do that's going to be on the surface. So to see every one of these authors, every time I said to them, no, you're going to have to go back and do this. No, you're going to have to go back and do that. And Lee and I sat at his kitchen table reading the chapters out loud going, oh, there's a story there, but they're just going to have to do more. They're just going to have to get into it. And like they've all said, we're entrepreneurs. So who wants to be told what to do? And when they started to hear it as not being told what to do, but told how to get better, the chapters are amazing. It's amazing.
So who was it harder on? Anyone take this question here, but who was it harder on? Do you think Ciara had a harder work doing it, or was it harder for any of you to go back and edit and edit and edit in your own separate space?
Ciara had the harder work.
Yeah, Ciara had the harder work. She had to put up with none of the people on screen, right? I didn't say you, Sandra. I just said other people.
All of us. I said en masse. Yes, definitely. Yeah, hats off to her. She gets the crown for sure.
So, Lee, I want to go back to the group because we just mentioned the initials of the organization, the overall umbrella. Can you explain what your organization is really all about? They're going to get the book. They're going to want to know about it. So do a little commercial here.
Well, ECI started out with coach, and I had this wacky idea that entrepreneurs around the world closed or forward.
You've got your microphone a little muffled there, Lee.
Yep.
Is it on your shirt?
Off your word.
Hold it up. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Do that again.
As we went into COVID, I had this wacky idea that entrepreneurs wouldn't pause or stop. So I decided to call an international entrepreneurs meeting, really. Yeah, because entrepreneurs are the backbone of any community, whether it be locally, nationally, or internationally. And I knew if we had to get out of COVID with some success, that it would be entrepreneurs that would do it. So I looked for the ones that didn't go into pause. I looked for the ones that didn't sleep, didn't pop the house, and I called it the one place.
You got your mic muffling you again just a little bit.
Sorry, buddy. Can you hear that? I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
That's better. We'd have to hold on to it.
So once we got everyone put together, we had the core of the core. I mean, we had the people that didn't sleep even when they had a chance to, and we put them all in one place. The art was to collaborate, and entrepreneurs don't always play nice with others because they're used to being the disruptor. They're used to being the ones that aren't heard properly. And in my world, I would say that everybody's got a job because of an entrepreneur. Jobs exist because of entrepreneurs, but a lot of people don't really give entrepreneurs the respect, and really that many other humans live in the comfort and the security entrepreneurs provide, but they're always seen as a problem. So in ECI, we put them all in one place. We're still looking for more. We've probably got the biggest designed international entrepreneur community in the world. Yeah, because we're specifically international.
Yeah.
So under the umbrella, then I put a subgroup in. I don't know who's typing there. Put a subgroup in, which was the School of Hard Knocks. So in a sense, I put a subgroup in under the umbrella of ECI to pull our community tighter and tighter and tighter together to get the best out of them. So that's really the ECI's Entrepreneurs Community International. You can find out more about it in the book.
Yep. And of course, on the Mega Book Launch, we'll talk more about that as well. But ECI is all about entrepreneurs. So Sandra and Dan, I want you guys to chew on this one for a second here. But you're both entrepreneurs. You both know the highs and lows. But when they said, let's be honest and write it honest, was that hard to get in that frame of mind that you were really going to be honest? Because we all like to look good. And you want to have a good business. You want to have a good reputation. But was it hard to really go deeply honest on this?
I'll go first on that. It wasn't the honest part of it wasn't difficult. It was the depth of the vulnerability that I think we were encouraged to do. And what happened, and I want to highlight a few of the other, if we can, highlight a couple of the authors that are in the chat, thank goodness. And now that you're pulling some of them up and putting them in. But one of the gentlemen, Peter, this morning described what I think a lot of us had experienced as we wrote that depth of our chapters and went back into what made us who we are today. And one of his phrases was, I was looking at the stuff that I've overcome. I can overcome anything that life throws at me, and it's not something that'll get me down. So I've gone through a lot of stuff and I've come out of it. That means I've got the resilience, I've got the tenacity, I've got the grit to get through it and overcome any hurdles that lie in the future that might show up. That, I think, is not just for Peter's experience. I think there's probably several people that are in this group that had that similar thing. And I'll say I was one too, where I went back and I started pulling stories from my past and kind of going, wow. And then Ciara said in an earlier meeting this morning, oh, that's how I did that. And that's how I did that. And so, it was a great personal trip that we are hoping, with the depth of the stories that we pulled, and the honesty of it all, that other people that are entrepreneurial minded will be able to see themselves in it. And even if it just means getting up one more day, because one thing about being an entrepreneur is there's guaranteed to be the day where you go, I want to quit. And on those days, you can read this chapter or two and go, okay, all right, Peter got back up. Like, we can get back up.
Dan, what about for you during this process? When
it was probably not the authenticity part. I mean, I am what I am, and I have been for all of my life. And love me or hate me, I'm just I'm old enough now. I just don't care anymore. So, the part that was for me the most impactful was it caused me to really reflect, and that's how I ended up back in junior high. And I really hadn't put the pieces together. I knew the steps I had taken as a teenager, as a young adult, as a corporate employee, as an entrepreneur. I knew the steps. I could identify those very quickly, put systems around those. But it really wasn't going until I went back to the core. How did I get this way? Well, there were 2 or 3 touchstone points that really made a difference for me and the path that I was going down as a we'll just call it non-compliant teenager. I wouldn't say rebellious, just non-compliant. And the people that came into my life at a very specific time that nudged me with a baseball bat, nudged me onto a path that really defined the rest of my life. They recognized the skills that I would have in the future. And for that, I'm eternally grateful.
Well, so now, Ciara, I'm going to come back to you, but you got to take all these different elements, stories. Without giving too much away, what was the biggest surprises you read and gleaned and reviewed? What was the biggest surprise you got from reading all these different elements from 22 different authors?
Yeah. As I was reading, I mean, Lee will tell you, sitting at his table, I cried multiple times reading the chapters. There were moments of them where I went, oh my God, like this is gold. And as I was reading through them, what struck me the most and the hardest in a way was that every single one of us, bar none, maybe almost all of us, have had such similar overarching experiences. The emotions, the feelings, the situations nearly were so similar, and the feelings were so similar. And to have 22 people in a book who went through such similar things, I was blown away. It comes back to trusting the process of knowing that when you put a certain amount of people into a project, that things will just happen the way it happens. But there's a huge amount of crossover in the difficult times, in the schools of hard knocks of every single one of the authors.
So when you first threw this out there, Lee, and wanted the group to do this, and you and Ciara were talking about planning for it, did you think or imagine there would be a common theme coming through the book? Do you think it was all being scattered, or did you ever imagine that?
That's what the whole point of it was for, Rich. Everyone sees the book. They don't see how do you get people to see themselves. So the whole process, everybody sees the chapters, the books, the end result. They don't see the bit in between all of that. And that's really what it's all about. For me, that's what the idea together, put it on rails. Ciara and I sat at the table saying the stories. How do we message it back to them now to get them to go where we need to go? And as soon as we got everybody to go where they needed to go, that's when we had to do that. Because we had true, raw, authentic. But once they were there, the fear was gone, the shame was gone, the doubt was gone, the overthinking was gone. They're not worried about what the world thinks of me anymore. This is me. So that was the bit, to get them to that bit, because then I suppose if you looked at, say, on a military type thing, When you go in the army, they bring you, they literally tear you apart, and then they rebuild you.
Right.
So in the roundabout way, Ciara and I had to sort of get all that sort of surface stuff away to get them down to the basically the soul of that entrepreneur, and then rebuild from there up. So it was many of it design going in.
Well, no, and it's great that it happened, because I'm thinking, how many different ways and directions could you go with a book when you have that many authors? 22 authors, international, working in different time zones, but there was a common theme that came through. I think it's pretty outstanding, pretty amazing. When it comes, please go.
Well, that's why the brief was so important, because if you didn't hold the line on the brief, and so many times, so many people tried to change the name of the book, tried to change even the whole theme of the book. I mean, the messages we got in the first few weeks, so many people tried to take, like, literally tell Ciara and I what to do and how it should be done inside the group and outside the group. And it took us about probably 6 weeks before people realised the brief is the brief. Once we got there, that's when we could get the starchy bit, that common bit, and it was more about the depth. But that's the entrepreneurial journey. So I imagined that we were going to get a common theme out of it. The stories are nowhere near the same.
Right.
And the authenticity and the realism is that, and that's the common core. I don't know what Ciara. Obviously, Ciara and I probably. I think we're the only ones that's read all the chapters.
That's what I was going to ask next. Has anyone read the whole thing? So, Ciara, looking at this now and hearing what you just heard Lee say in the beginning, it was kind of cats all trying to go their own direction. They're doing their own thing and tell you what to do. You had to rein that in, keep them involved, and still give them the freedom to write their own way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how the heck did you pull that?
Yeah, it's again, when you have a structure and you have a system, then that's the only part that needs to be structured or systematized. The story gets to be the story. And the idea behind writing, you should never change anybody's story. You shouldn't try and change somebody's words. You shouldn't try and change somebody's experiences. You should allow them to speak the way they speak. And then all you change is that you make it readable to the people who are going to buy the book. So you're not changing anything about the story. So that part wasn't hard once each author understood what the story needed to be, like the gold in their stories. Because often you'll write something and you think that that's amazing, but it's something inside that story that's the gold. And you just have to pull it out, and you've got to tease it and tease it and tease it and get the person who's writing to understand that that's it. Once that was done and everybody started just following the brief and following bit by bit, it just all came together.
You make it sound so easy, but I'm sure.
I'm sorry, there's something I want to highlight too, that I realized as I was looking through some of the notes that I have, that every author comes from, and Lee alluded to this, they come from very different, not just different countries, Rich, and different time zones, but very different life experiences, but different fields of expertise. So Sean Brosnan is one of, I think he's here in the chat, but definitely extremely talented photographer, videographer. He's been blowing us away, with these random shots of all around the world that he's traveling, and he's fantastic. He actually took the photos of us that we submitted and he created all the back cover images, the ones that you used as we were coming in, which was great, yeah. Rich. That was so cool. So that was in part, Sean coached us through that to give us that unified look. And so there's so much talent that's in this book, but something that he said earlier today, Lee had asked him, what did you see in the shadows that we might have missed, since he has this look of, this ability to look and see things differently. And Sean's answer was, I think meaning the writing of this book taught all of us a lot about ourselves that we didn't know and didn't understand. And I think it's actually a good way of putting it about the shadows. I think that what I noticed over the course of what are like 9 or 10 months, something like that, is that actually people came from in their shadows to out of their shadows and actually owned the light that they walked in. And I think that's probably the thing I found the most interesting. Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And
I had to share that.
That's where the learning process comes out. And so, Dan, I'm going to go right there as we kind of wind down having you here.
Yeah, the shadows thing struck me this morning. Is actually we shone a light on our shadows because we've all got the backstory, and we've all got things that didn't go well. But all of those things that's in the shadows has made us where we are today and how we serve others at a very high level. And each one of the 22 of us have unique superpowers and unique expertise that we can go out and serve the world. And I don't like to focus on the shadows sometimes. Who wants to celebrate their failures? Who wants to expose that and say, yeah, I'm awesome today, but you should have seen me 30 years ago. I mean, it's like everybody's there. And I think that was the theme. And I haven't read all the stories yet. I've read a few because we had some subgroups supporting each other during this process. And for me, it's to be willing to acknowledge the shadows and the role that they played in getting us into our spotlights.
So as we wind down here, I'm very curious. And Ciara, since you have put the different works all together, collectively, orderly, in a powerful way, what's your wish and outcome for this book as people pick it up? It's for entrepreneurs. It's for business leaders. It's for those that are visionary, upfront people that do lead to their own drum. But what's your hope for this book?
Easy. Yesterday or the day before, when I finished reading all the chapters, and every single one of the authors will attest to this, I finished, I'd say it was my 6th round of reading the chapters, and a fire lit in my belly, and I got so annoyed. And it came up through me, and I was like, no, this has to come out. I'm going to have to put this in the group, because I was furious. All I could think was, these people have done some of the most wildly incredible things you can possibly imagine, in the depths of despair, through the worst things that you can imagine happening. I'm not going to give any of it away, but like I said, I cried multiple times. And all I could think was, you don't have any right to wallow in anything that's currently happening in your life, because you've been through some of the most trying, terrible things, and you've arrived to this point. So what I would love every single reader to actually just take a minute to feel is, if you're here, it means you've succeeded in getting here. So there's pretty much nothing else you can't handle. So it gets me so fired up to see so many people having done such amazing things, and then sometimes doubting themselves, sometimes wondering if they can, or if they should, or if it's okay, or if it's good enough. It's okay. It's good enough. It's amazing. And I want every single reader to know that that's the truth when they read this book.
Well, thank you all for taking the time to be here today. This is our pre-book launch party. You had an authors meeting earlier today just to get together and celebrate and talk, and people could beam in virtually and join the conversation to see behind the
Rich,
veil.
do we have the Kindle? Do we have the Kindle link?
Yes, we do. We've been dropping it in the chat. I'm going to drop it in again right now.
This is only available if you're here. Is that right, Lee?
Yep.
And then it disappears. So
use that Kindle link. So thank you all. Thank you, Dan, Sandra, Ciara, Lee. Thank you all for being a part of this. And again, we are not done yet, because we are getting ready for the mega global party. And that's going to be coming up. I want you to mark your calendars, and we're going to help you with that a little bit here. You can use this QR code to mark your calendar to join us on Tuesday, October the 15th. Tuesday, the October the 15th. Join us for a 2-hour live book launch global party, where we're going to interview and talk with not just one, not just two, 22 different authors from around the world are going to be here together to share their stories, their experiences, their insights. So grab this link, hit the QR code, and you can join us for an incredible time. Everyone is bubbling over, that you can see in the comments, as you can see their friend, their love from one another, the way they praise each other. Even though they are around the world, they've been mostly virtually connected. You can see and feel how deeply connected they are, and what made this book so darn special. So we want you to join us for that. So please hit that QR code, and we will make sure that you have it right there. Hit it fully. Join us then. Mark your calendar, block it off. This will be one of the longest live virtual multi-person events we've ever pulled off at Rock the Stage, and we're wanting you to be a part of all of that. So please mark your calendar. It's going to start at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. in Ireland. And I'm not even going to try to do the accent anymore. I'm just going to give up and try to do the accent. So please meet all 22 of these amazing entrepreneurs, authors, international leaders, collaborative writing together on this very, very personal book. Thank you all for being with us here today. And we will be back once again on that wonderful day coming up. Mark your calendar, October the 15th. And at 3 p.m., we will go live for our next virtual book launch party. Have a great time. Until then, stay in touch, watch all the posts, like, share, follow, and be a part of this amazing movement.